Hey folks, welcome to Market Technical Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leader in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. Today, Friday, August 8th, 2008. Well, what a rally it was today, folks, and InTheMoneyStocks.com here, we expected more of a pause day today, but it was definitely not a pause day. The Dow roared up 303 points today, or 2.65%. The Nasdaq was up about 58 points, or 2.5%, and the S&P soared higher by 30 points, up 2.4%. Now, the key here in this analysis for today's video and what I want to cover is there's two scenarios setting up. And this is going to mean everything for next week depending on what we get Monday and Tuesday. So we're going to have to watch this, and I want to go over the charts and talk about the setups for next week, because next week is options expiration, and we all know about Whipsaw Wednesday and the craziness of that day. And I really want to focus now with today's move at why the market could be setting up for a possible move up or down and how we're going to know next week. Now, if we had seen consolidation today, then that would have anticipated a big move up next week. But with the move up today, it basically possibly, and I'm going to say possibly here, possibly negated that move up or took a lot of steam away from it. We actually had it penciled in to start next Monday for an Options X rally, but it got underway a little earlier today, as we had expected that consolidation move today. So we're going to take a look at that and see how it came early and why it came early, what was the catalyst today, and really to sum it up in just two basic objectives here, two reasons: the US dollar and oil or commodities. That's it, right there, dollar, commodities. So let's get right into the charts and talk about today's move. Again, a monstrous move up today, and there's not a lot to say on this chart on the ES, and this is the intraday chart. We look at the 10-minute on this software here. And what I really want to focus on is this move right here, which has really happened at the open. We were trading lower into the open after getting a little bit of economic news. You had some effects from, some more worries on the front, basically looking at financials. Remember, the financials were very weak off of AIG. The retailers yesterday dragged the market down. And then all of a sudden the open started and volume kicked into the upside, and we actually had a phenomenal morning of volume. Volume died off in the afternoon tremendously, but there was a great deal of volume. And look at this move up here. I mean, just a tremendous move. Right up, straight up, basically 2, 4, 6 candles higher here, straight in a row. Now, the key here in this intraday chart, and this is what we talked about in the chat room, is the consolidation patterns or the bull flag patterns that developed. And this is, as a trader, what you were watching. Very hard to predict this move, okay? This move was very tough to predict because you open the market and all of a sudden you're in rally mode. But what you could have done as a trader, note the bull flag pattern, break up. And this pattern, you should know, especially those that took the webinar, is a dead-on rally pattern. And it happened twice. It happened right here, and then you got the push up right above that I just marked, and then the same pattern develops again on a smaller time frame, and off to the races you go, right up one more time. Then this is just kind of jumbled. This is just continued consolidation, whippy trading, and you got a little bit of a pullback, or basically sell the rally into the close, where the people were basically taking profits. I mean, you have Friday afternoon, the market's up 300 points on the Dow, and the Nasdaq's up over 100 points this week. You're going to take profits. There are people out there just like me that are going to take profits. You can't not take profits in that situation ahead of a weekend, because you don't know what the weekend holds. You don't know what the market will do Monday morning, and you just better to do that. Now, we talked about situations, all right? Let's take a look. We talked about a wedge yesterday, which, we talk about these wedges. We're not huge fans of the wedge, but it basically is just showing support and resistance. That's all a wedge is. It's showing a basic support and resistance, and we talked about this. So let's take a look at that wedge again, because today is very, very key to that wedge. And you can see, really, you can even use the chart from down here to put it in right there. All right, so you have resistance right here and support right here. Now, yesterday we came down just about to that support line. When we were at the lows, you were basically touching that support on the futures, and this is pre-market that we were at those lows pretty much, because once the market opened, the rally started. So that's why it's nice to have the overnight data here just for this. Normally it skews the intraday charts, but nonetheless, you can see you really came down to almost touch the 20 moving average early, and then it's off to the races, and we hit top of the wedge area, or the resistance point. In addition, here's the 50 moving average, and we talked about, we did think that the move was going to come to that 50 moving average. We did not think it would happen today. We thought it would happen next week, but nonetheless, here's the 50 moving average, and I'll draw a line over it so you can all see it for sure. and you basically at the top, the high of the day today, you were touching that 50 moving average. Now that's first hit of the 50, you always get a little bit of a pullback. You started that today. The question will be, how do we react on Monday? Because oftentimes they like to really pierce that moving average, and sometimes they won't. So we have to base this, and this is why I talk about Mondays and Tuesdays trading as being so key to what the market will do for the rest of the week and the following week, as a matter of fact, is because we need to see Monday whether or not we continue higher early and then sell off. Do we stay higher the whole day and really pierce that moving average and then pull back? But either way, I would say if we have another solid day on Monday, you're going to look for a strong pullback after that. But we'll reanalyze that come Monday's video. Now the key is here, you have two scenarios, as I mentioned. One scenario is you hit this moving average and you're going to see a pullback on Monday. That's one scenario. And if we were to pull back, we think that sets up for one more push up. Alright, if we continue to go higher on Monday and possibly on Tuesday, then that may be the extent of the move, and we're going to have to start looking for a pullback in this market. Alright, and a pretty drastic pullback at that. Really what you're looking for here on the downside is, as this line continues to move up, if we continue to hit it on the downside, we will break down at one point, and then we have to reanalyze at the supports, what's the next support, because ultimately there is a chance that we come all the way down to the lows again. Alright? And we have to watch for that. But the various supports, as I drew in yesterday on this chart, need to be watched only if we break the bottom line here, this trend line here. This is the trend line that is key to everything right now, keeping this market afloat. As long as this continues to move up and the markets don't break it, they're obviously going to move up higher and higher. Alright, but again, you're basically on the upper end of this resistance point. In addition, you're hitting the resistance of the 50 moving average on this chart, and this is basically mirroring the S&P. So you're going to watch for that. Now, if we took out this 50 moving average, you can start looking for various levels, okay? Alright? Number one is this point is basically matching this resistance point right here that we have calculated out, is basically matching where the market went to the highs today. After that, then you start looking at this basic next level. Alright? And this would be the next area we could see the market head to if we do break through that 50 on Monday or Tuesday. We'll have to continue to analyze it, though, as we said. Alright, let's quickly go to the NASDAQ, talk a little NASDAQ, because the NASDAQ had a pause day, pullback day yesterday, a pretty dramatic pullback day, and then it just soared higher again today. And the NASDAQ has that same basic channel on the downside, but on the upside, it definitely blew through that. Okay, you can see it right here. This is basically the level. In addition, you saw this gap window right here, and gap fill from this point back here. Alrighty. So it blew through the gap window and the gap fill points of resistance, and now we're talking about the next stage of possible resistance here being right around there where the market went to today. Now notice how I'm getting those. It's part of it's a calculation, but basically you can even extend this, and if we extend it, it comes back in this area as well. So you want to look back to find all these key supports and resistance lines, all right? And notice how this was support right here. Support right here again, bounced off. Finally it broke through, but on the way back up it becomes resistance. Alright, broken supports become resistance on the upside, and that's one of the best rules you need to learn as a trader on a technical basis. Alright, so keep in mind that right here is definite resistance on the NASDAQ based on this resistance point, which used to be support. Alright, now should we break higher? Where's the next level? Well, you're going to start talking about right here. Alright. That would be a big level, and even there's a little bit of resistance right in here as well that I'm seeing just by glancing at this chart. Okay, so but anyways, notice how this was resistance up here, and it was able to break through, and then getting some areas right here and right here. So on the upside, you could see an extension move out to there. But again, it's all going to come down to what happens on Monday. We should get a better picture on Monday which scenario is going to come through. All right, a pause or pullback on Monday. As long as it's not too drastic, probably dictates that later in the week we'll see more upside, as I mentioned. If we continue higher on Monday, it could mean that the upside is very muted now, and they are setting this market up to come back down. Alright? And I just want to make sure everyone's aware of that. Now let's talk about some movers today. The refiners have continued to be very hot. They pulled back yesterday. Today, refiners like Valero just soared up higher. And look at these charts. I mean, with oil just getting crushed, these refiners are finally getting a little bit of steam. You want to be careful on them, as I've said. Also, just notice the resistance point right here. Drawing it wrong. This is Valero's daily chart, by the way. So keep an eye on that. If it can break through, you have a small shot of getting Valero to move back up to there. Alright, and again, it'll have ups and downs as oil. But one thing I will say about oil, guys, you know, and we've been calling the top for a while back here, right up here we were calling the top when no one would believe us. Trust me, we got some nice emails on that one before it did fall, and we were proven right. But what I would like to say here, guys, is that oil did fill that gap today. All right, remember on I think 2 videos or 3 videos ago, it's hard to remember, you had a gap window which we touched right there, bounced off of it, and then we filled the gap today. Alright, now this means that oil is at near-term support. What I'm going to look for, I'm actually looking for a little more. I'd love to see this before I enter any trade, long or short oil. And obviously I'd be looking for a long for a scalp here, as a swing trade scalp. I want to see oil actually come a little lower. I want to make sure I get this as cheap as possible because it's a high risk trade. And if it doesn't get that low, so be it. Who cares? I missed a trade. No big deal. There's like 5 zillion every day that we can always do. And we talk about that in the chat room as always. And a fun day in the chat room today, guys. Very fun. I do say some of you guys traded very well today. Some nice trades. But in any case, I'm going to look for more of this area right in here, even though this could bounce it. They could bounce it off of this level, but I want to get as cheap as possible. So watch that oil next week. We could be setting up for a bounce maybe midweek. We'll talk to you then. Have a wonderful weekend. Join the chat room. Take care.